Welcome back, Superstar. I'm here with Phil M. Jones. We're diving into part 2 of the conversation about how to be better at sales and enjoy it as well. We're going to dive into some of the skill sets. So we've talked about, Phil, how to approach sales in a different way, a new mindset, a new paradigm. Now let's dive into the actual words and how to, what is the key thing that you shared with me before we got on the video about what it takes to lead sales effectively?
Okay. Well, what selling is earning the right to make a recommendation. Right? So what we're looking to be able to do is to steer a conversation towards a predetermined outcome that is the right outcome for them, and that you're doing it backed up with weight and you're doing it backed up with evidence.
Great.
Right, that's what we're trying to be able to do, is to be able to help them achieve outcomes that are right for them, knowing that indecision is the enemy, and our job is to help people make their mind up.
Yes, indeed.
So in all reality, if you're going to lead a conversation, you have to remember it's the person who's asking the questions that's in control of the conversation, because questions lead to conversations. Conversations become relationships, relationships create opportunities, and those opportunities give you the chance to make sales.
Right.
But if you're not starting by understanding that you are the key question asker, you're the wrong way around.
I've been in situations too where the prospect is the one asking the questions.
It happens all the time, where what happens is somebody's like, so tell me about your services.
Right.
And you're like, thank God.
Thank you, you're asking me.
Right. And then down comes the download, right, of information, leaving the person at the end of that, like, with no control. We're just a walking talker brochure. Right?
So the rule number 1 is you've got to be the one asking the questions.
Yes. And you've got to understand their context.
Yeah.
You've got to find out where they're at.
Okay.
And even say, for example, that you're selling a coaching service or a training service, or that you have some form of online course or program that you want somebody to go through. If you're not asking questions at the front end of, like, what is your experience of working with a professional coach?
Yeah.
We're missing context.
Indeed.
Because you might find, well, I've got no experience, but 3 of my friends have worked with you in the past. They love you. I'm just ready to get started.
Or the last coach I worked with really messed me up, you know, or that it changes everything.
It changes everything if you don't ask questions at the front end, because the person asking the questions is in control of the conversation.
Okay.
And our goal in terms of our closing statement, and we should always be looking to start with a version of the end in mind, is we want to be able to say, well, because of the fact that you said. Because of the fact that you said blank, blank, and blank, then for those reasons, my best recommendation would be blank, blank, and blank. Catch something even hyper-specific about what I just said there is my best recommendation would be. Now, what that does is it's also earned me the right to have a second best recommendation, a third best recommendation, a fourth best recommendation. Right. Because often we struggle there, right? Is well, I don't know how to steer them in the decision. So we get to the point of asking them to make a decision. So you've got these 7 options. It's like a Cheesecake Factory menu of decisions, right? It's too much. But when you say things like my best recommendation, now what happens is people can be like, well, actually that sounds great, but it's too much for me.
Right.
Well, now we can explore that. We can go back to a position of curiosity. We can ask more questions. And we say, well, because of the fact that you said that you're still looking to achieve this and that this was too much for you, then here's what you might want to consider.
There you go.
Right? But it's all a helpful dance. It's about seeing if they're committed to the journey, committed to the destination, and that the kind of person that you want to be able to go to work with.
So let's dive into that a little bit, because I use questions. I have specific questions. I'm curious what you recommend that help determine how committed someone is. What is their vision? Like, what are some of the powerful questions that a salesperson or a business owner, a coach, a consultant can be asking in an effective sales conversation?
Well, I think one of the first starting points, or certainly early in the conversation, is some form of understanding of their current situation.
Okay.
And it's the step that often gets missed.
Yeah.
Understand their current situation. So that can be using prefaces like, what is your experience with? And it's not, what brought you to this call today. It's typically, what is your experience with this kind of service? Why does this matter? Who else have you considered? And even a version of what is it about me and my work that makes you think I might be a good fit?
Yeah.
See, all of that context earning at the front end is them qualifying self, not you qualifying them, which is a completely different game. So you understand their current situation. Following understanding their current situation, what we might jump towards is to be able to explore some possibilities.
Yeah.
Is where are they looking to dream? And people think you've got to try and help find clients' goals. You can't find their goals unless you invited them to dream first.
Okay.
Because goals are like dreams with deadlines, right?
Yes.
If you want to be all corny and cliche. but we're going to explore some possibilities. Is, what is your experience of others finding success in this area?
Yeah.
And, how important is this to you that you create this change?
It's a big question I always ask.
And what happens is we ask, how important is it to you? And people say like, no, it's really important. And then we're like stuck. Where do we go from here? So you can insert things like sliding scales into questions.
I do 1 to 10.
Yep.
On a scale of 1 to 10. I've told you all about that.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it to you? With 1 being like, well, kind of cute, and 10 being like, this has to happen. Where are you at with this?
Yeah. And I only work with 10s.
Right. Well, and I think sometimes you can say, well, like if it's an 8.6 right now, what would
it take to get you to a 10?
Right. Simple language to get people to buy in before you ask them to buy you, right? Is to see if they're committed.
All right, everybody, you're in for a treat. Phil has created an Audible original that you can get on Audible. You can either get it for free if you're a member, or you can buy it, and it's called How to Persuade and Get Paid. Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh man, this is probably the greatest piece of work I've done, and it's kind of hidden away. So I performed a one-man show off Broadway in New York, recorded by Audible, that puts the listener into a one-day sales training workshop. And it's the sales training program for everybody. It takes you through exactly where to start, all the steps that you need to be able to work through to understand how to sell with integrity, through to closing, through to overcoming indecision, and then how to build a brand on it. So it's like a 4-hour experience that puts you in the workshop with live interaction from other parties, and it is fantastic. And it really is me taking the one-day workshop that I used to do as live events back when I first started, and crystallizing it in a way that is accessible to everybody. And,
congratulations.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Closest I get to being like a real star.
Well, you have a lot of years left in you, so let's see about that. All right, everybody, make your way over to Audible and get How to Persuade and Get Paid. You want to lead people in the right direction, meaning if they want this outcome, but that journey is not a fit for them, for whatever reason that you can see, and you don't share that and you sell it to them anyway, it's a recipe for disaster. Correct.